Hey there and welcome to the End of Civilization. This is Final Outposts. It is up to you to manage, at least right now, at the start, 5 survivors, make them happy, keep them alive, so provide them with food, and make sure that they have shelter against the incoming zombies. The graphics of this game initially threw me off, going, what? What is this? Like, guys, it's 2025, but once you look past the graphics, there's a good game here. Let me show you. First, quick interview of the quick overview of the HUD. We have 5 pop, we have 4.2 meat, we have the ability later to grow additional food. We now have 150 wood, which is maxing out. We got 12 junk, and over here we got stone and some very advanced resources, which we will get to later. At the bottom, you have the time. You can see that the day is already going. It's 1 PM or 1300 hours. Over here, you can see what sort of resources we have. I don't necessarily have access to the advanced resources yet. You can engage those later. But for now, I do have a max out on wood. So let's build a workshop. And the workshop is going to allow me to do crafting. Crafting is done over here. And it basically means that you can give your workers additional jobs. Right now, I would like an additional lumberjack. So I'm going to turn 5 scrap into an axe. And I'm going to take one of the guys off of scavenging and turn them into a lumberjack. Over here we also have the overview, seeing that food is going down pretty quick. So I might also need to add another hunter, as I only have 1. The knife fighter is the one that keeps the zombies at bay, and they only come at night. So you gotta make sure that at night you have your knife fighters out, but over daytime you don't really need to. So I can turn this guy into an archer or into a hunter, and with that get a bit more food. This button here shows you what the current status of the walls are. Over here, I don't have any walls yet. That's these resource zones which have yet to be unlocked, or rather base zones. And as such, you also don't have to defend them. The zombies just go for this main wall, which you can upgrade if you so choose and if you have the resources. But it does require me to upgrade the base to level 2. Once you have this upgrade, you can see that my wall health goes from 600 to 900. And that is a nice improvement. Of course, as the game goes on, it's going to get increasingly more difficult. For now, what I want to do is build a wood store. And I want to build a meat drying rack so I can store more of each. And it is now 20 PM, so 20 hours, and with that, it is nighttime. So this is when the bastards come out. I'm going to set one guy on knife fighting, and I want to have another, so I'm going to craft another knife. And we're going to get these guys on the walls. At this point, you don't really have to do anything. You are just going to be sitting and letting these guys handle the incoming red dots. Not all of them will wander over to your walls. Sometimes one does, at which point they will start to attack the wall, damage the health of your wall, and when that happens, well, make sure that they get stopped in time. Here we go. A couple of them got knocked out. And right now, the rest of them don't seem to be terribly interested in trying to approach. Here's 1, though, and 2. So immediately the knife fighters get to work. And now it is morning, and we can tell people to go back to work. Oh, 600. Oh, 700, and the guys come out. At this point, I can turn my knife fighters back into lumberjacks. I don't know how they do it. Their stamina must be phenomenal. But at this point, they're just going to be going back to doing lumberjacking, so they're going to be bringing in additional wood. This is going to be continuing for the gameplay loop. However, it's possible you'll find additional survivors, so right now I can't house those yet. If I want to, I need to upgrade my base to a level 2. How do we do that? Get 200 wood. That's the base requirement. Get 200 wood. At this point, there's not that much to do. I just need to make sure that my hunters are automatically gathering food. Yep, there we go. 5 citizens went hungry. We're going to be getting additional wood into the stockpile, and currently I can store 200, so I have just enough storage capacity to upgrade the base. The hunters came back with some food, and now I can store 10 thanks to that additional drying rack. That means that I can store a bit more, and hopefully they won't go hungry. There we go, we got 200, let's upgrade that. Now I can have a total of 15 civilians here. I can still only store 5 food, plus the 5 from the drying rack. I can now store 450 wood, 60 junk, and 50 stone. Great, how do you get stone? Well, we'll get to that. That's a higher tier resource. At some point, you will, of course, want more workers. You'll want more population. How do you get those? Basically, two ways. One, you gotta breed your own population. Yes, that's as interesting as it sounds. Over here at the bottom, you can see that 5 of my workers are asleep, which is unacceptable because I do need somebody manning the walls. But the more people you have asleep, the more likely they are to create a new citizen, shall we say. And the citizen is not born as an infant, the citizen is instantly turned into a full civilian and can immediately be sent out to, oh, I don't know, cut down wood or go hunt something or even work as a knife fighter. Day 2, night 2. Let's get to work, taking down the Zeds. If you hold spacebar, you can even push it faster than that. And at night there isn't really that much to manage. There we go, that ought to do it. Take these guys off of knife fighting. The knife fighters are asleep during the day, so if you keep your knife fighters assigned, that means that they will contribute to the birth rate during the day. And that means that this bar is going to continue to fill up during the day. I don't really care for that. I don't really find that it's too difficult to get additional population. Because you also sometimes get new groups wandering in saying, hey, can we please shelter here? You can say, well, yes, I have room, I have food, and I can definitely use more people to work for me. Alternatively, you can go, yeah, well, I'd like to, but at present, I don't exactly have the capability of housing that many more people. Let's get another one of these. And I can also upgrade this, because I do need to start storing up to 600 wood. And currently, I can only store 450. Okay, let's get these guys over to knife fighting. Push it to maximum speed. Get rid of the Zeds. And as I mentioned, once you look past the graphics, it suddenly becomes a rather addictive game. And I found hours to magically disappear when playing this. Which is not something I expected initially when I was looking into this game. I thought, oh, okay, well, let's just try it. But it's remarkably good. And it's not even that expensive either. It's, I think, $10 on Steam. $5 on mobile. So you can play this on your phone if you wish to. Probably recommending not to do that before you go to bed, because you might not get a whole lot of sleep, as, of course, the base needs to grow. Speaking of base growth, over here we have another terrain which I can expand into. I highly recommend you only do that when you actually have all of these slots filled up with buildings. Otherwise, you have to have defenses not on this wall, but also on that wall. This means additional people are required. And you don't really have enough to man that many walls at the start. So I highly encourage not to expand into these positions too quickly. I'm just going to go and let the time run for a while. And potentially save up 300 so I can start getting a better wall. The wall presently only has 506 out of 600 health. How do we fix that? How do we fix the wall? We need the worker. And in order to get the worker, we need to get a saw, which requires a workshop level 2. A workshop level 2 requires 450 wood. So you don't need to upgrade the base in order to upgrade your workshop. But once you have this, it unlocks the ability to gather, or to create a worker. It allows the ability... Hold on, let me put some knife fighters to work. It allows the ability to get a couple of... where was it? Here. To get people with shovels. Those are the ones that dig out a new part of the base. And over here you can see the pickaxe, which means that you're going to be getting miners. And miners will eventually generate stone for you. That's the third resource you got. But until such a time, we are first going to have to upgrade the base, because I need to have a base level 3, so we're going to be gathering resources for a while. Every once in a while, the game is going to hit you with a blood moon, which means that the Zeds will become more aggressive, and that means potentially trouble, depending on how well you have defended the place. So this time around I'm going to go with more people on the knife fighting. And, well, they're going to get a pretty hefty workout during the night. Because you can see that there's a lot more of the Zeds around. And they will get a little bit more aggressive towards your walls. So the walls are going to take a bit more of a beating during this night. This means that you cannot really keep this up for too much longer, and the game is kind of pushing you to get that higher tier workshop. Let me push all of these into lumberjacking for now, because I need to get more wood so I can start upgrading. What the game also gave me was a special point, and you can put these into any of these skill trees. Of course, you have to unlock more as you go down. Over here we have the ability to carry more. You're just going to be getting a basic plastic bag, which eventually turns into having a car. That's going to allow you to get a lot more inventory. So, for example, your lumberjacks don't need to come back and forth as much of the time, which means they don't waste time doing that. Over here you got movement speed for all units. This is going to be repairing. I don't really need that upgrade. I've played pretty far without requiring that. And over here you have defense, which ups the amount of defensive, or ups the amount of knife damage that you do. So I can say, well, I want to have a lot more knife damage, and I want to have less chance of attracting Zeds while I'm doing it. Because they're going to make some noise, and you got to somehow make sure that they all go down. Or you're going to be attracting more. So this -5, don't discard that. It's pretty useful. For now, what I'm going to do is just make sure people move faster, because it benefits me everywhere. It means that the hunters and the lumberjacks are going to be moving back and forth faster. And when I'm under attack, the walls are going to be, let's say, patrolled faster. So I don't have to send as many people towards the walls as possible. As for population growth, we're about halfway there. So it's going quite well. I've got 450, so I can upgrade the workshop. And that means I can now get a worker. The workers do require a saw, which is something I need the junk for, and I don't have that. So let's put one of them to work on gathering more junk. The junk is the second bar over here. Sorry, the first bar, and it goes much slower. So gathering junk actually takes more time. Let's craft one of those. I'm going to tell these guys to man that. I do still want to have 3 people working on generating another civilian, so that I'm going to have more people to do more jobs for me. Let's get rid of all of these, and then I can show you what the worker does. There we go. The wall's now protesting, saying, hey, I'm down to 300. That's a problem. I would highly recommend that you look into that. So I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to have one worker. The other one's going to go for the lumberjack. The worker uses required resources. That can be wood. It can also be stone later on for your walls to repair the most damaged wall. And the most damaged wall in this case is the western one. I don't have northern or southern ones, so it doesn't really matter that much. Keep in mind, every point of wall that they repair, and they do that per 20, is going to cost you a bit of resources. Ah, more people. Excellent. I'm going to tell those guys to get to work immediately. I want to have more scavengers out and another lumberjack. You can see that my lumber supply is going down as I'm repairing the walls. So this way you do need to have at least a store of resources in order to get that wall fixed up. But we are getting the wall healed, if you will. And I think we can heal the wall faster, or rather we can get resources faster than we can heal it up. And that'll be that. Alright. Of course, with more people and relatively fewer people knife fighting, the birth rate has gone up to about 2% per hour. So this way, especially as you're getting a larger and larger and larger population, you'll be getting a lot more people born into your colony. Which is good news, because you'll have more people to defend the place, but it's also bad news, because it can make food get a bit tight. You can find that you don't have enough food. So that is why the game eventually will introduce a farm. And, sorry, this is the farm, and this is the granary to store your food in. Now I'm going to move on to a different outpost to show you what it can look like after a couple of weeks of in-game playing. Here's what your outpost can look like after a couple of weeks of playing. I'm at day 53, and I now have 48 workers. I have a bit of food. I have a lot of farms which are generating food. I have tons and tons of wood stored, lots of stone gathered. So I now have a lot more resources. And, well, you need to, because your walls are going to get a lot more expensive. You need 1,000 stone to upgrade the walls. The walls now also have been granted a defensive position here. So with these turrets, you can start doing a bit of damage at range, and you can eventually upgrade those into machine gun turrets, if again you have the resources. Let's make sure that we have some people on knife duty. You hold shift, you can move over the entire population from one job to another. There we go, another citizen was born. My cap over here is decent. I still have enough people that I can house. I can house 55. As for resources, I am currently getting to 3,500 wood and 1,500 stone to upgrade the base to the next tier. And what I would also like to do is upgrade the workshop, which will allow me to get rifles. But that's going to require a lot higher tier resource. A lot higher tier base. There we go, that's the turret firing. The turret uses a couple of wooden bolts. So every time that it reloads, it's going to cost you 2 wood. At this point, I have also unlocked the southern and the northern wall. So that means I have a bigger exposure area. And that requires more workers to man the walls. If you have a, for example, high-end wall over here, you can say, well, I want to have one more worker go to the southern wall and defend the perimeter there. Otherwise, I might run into trouble. How am I doing for food? I got decent amounts of food. And I can still store 1,800. I can get about 1,000, 12, about 1,400 there. So let's get another granary built here. Building things does not take workers. They just either slowly build, or when you're upgrading them, they instantly upgrade to the next tier. And that means I can now store a bit more food. Let's get this one upgraded as well. And now you're going to see that I need a metal. That's the next resource. But I cannot build that until I have the forge. The forge requires 300 stone. So again, you're being pushed onto higher resources. Eventually, you'll be getting a couple more buildings. But I'm going to leave it over to you to unlock those. As for how the game plays, I would recommend that you go for farms pretty quick. Because the farms are required in order to generate a lot more food. Over here, I have some deer that I can hunt. But only to a certain extent. Because you overhunt the area. And you eventually find that there's no more deer to hunt. That's a problem, because that means you got no more meat. So, most of the people are going to be vegetarian. Or you find that they just simply die. If you have people dying, you can end up into a death spiral, where people just don't have enough food, there's not enough workers, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. The wall here, thankfully, is being worked on. This is going to cost me some metal. Oh, sorry, some stone. And here is the harvest time. It is another 2 days and 23 hours until I can harvest again. Another 1 day and 9 hours until the next blood moon. How are we doing on these points? I can upgrade the guys to have a wheelbarrow, which will allow them to transport 26 for the lumberjack and 5, or rather, 5 for the scavenger. So that gives them a bit more capability to transport. Alternatively, I can save the point up. And I can say, well, I'm going to eventually be getting 2 more firepower. But what I would like to do is upgrade the turret agility. This means that the turret reload is improved by, well, by 25% in this case, so that's nice. Rotation speed is pretty good, and we have less zombie attraction chance. Unfortunately, I cannot upgrade it to the next one, because at the moment I don't have that many points. But once that next blood moon clears, I should. Now, let's get the forge built. The forge is going to require that you also have somebody who's capable of being a blacksmith. And that requires that you have a hammer. So I'm going to do that. Oh crap, I forgot the knife fighters. Let's do it like that. The guards are the ones you can also reassign if you wish to. And if you don't, they are pretty much like knife fighters. They'll sleep during the day, contributing to the birth rate. So even now, during the day, when most of the people are at work, I still have people generating new civilians for me. Here we go. Forge is up. That means I now have a slot for the blacksmith. Let's take that out of the lumberjacks, because I still have a decent amount there. And the lumberjack is going to now be a blacksmith, instant retrained. The forge, keep this in mind, the forge requires that you have junk or scrap. If you don't have that, you simply cannot complete this transmutation into one metal. So, by all means, go and gather junk. It might not be that interesting early on, but you do need it. And at some point, everything is going to require metal to upgrade. Probably including your base, but I haven't quite made it to that tier yet. Let's see if I can survive the next blood moon in a day. I'm just going to tell all the mining people to turn into knife fighters. And especially if you have a larger population with not everybody assigned, you can see that my population growth is 10% per hour. You can very quickly generate new civilians this way. Look at how quickly that bar fills up. This means that almost every day we're going to have a new civilian be born. There we go. A new citizen is born. The walls are definitely coming under more pressure now. We're doing okay. 1240, 1000, and 1195. But then again, this is not the blood moon. The next day is going to be the blood moon. Okay, everybody out. You're going to be going back to work in the mines. And we got one more. I'll turn that to work as a scavenger. Let's see what the next upgrade could be. Maybe I'm going to get another worker turned into a smith. Because this smith over here is turning that stuff into metal. Ah, there's the trader. Once you have this radio tower, you'll be able to get the trader. And the trader is one where, well, as the name might imply, you can sell resources and you can buy resources. It's not like you'll be buying weaponry, at least not yet. And you can sell these things off if you have a surplus, for example, of wood, or you get a ton of food built that you don't know what to do with. Food doesn't spoil, that's the good news. The bad news is it takes up quite the amount of storage space, though not as much as this. Stone stores take a lot of space. And most of my base is now stone stores, just to make sure I can eventually upgrade to that next tier. But we still are... well, we still are a bit ways off from that. I need 1500. The game really allows you to sort of pick and choose how you wish to upgrade your base. Sometimes you might want to focus a bit more on defense. Sometimes you might find that you've neglected your food generation. You can get yourself into trouble in many, many different ways. We've got about 10 metal now. Here we go. It's now a blood moon. I'm going to turn all the lumberjacks and miners into knife fighters. I'm going to turn the farmers into knife fighters. And I still have 5 pop. I can now get... yeah, I don't like doing it, but I'll just get another knife fighter. And let's see if we can survive. Some of these blips are a bit larger than the rest. Those are tougher Zeds, so those will require a bit more DPS in order to get through. The citizen was born in the middle of the night. Well, good luck. This wall is not doing that well. Yeah, I'm probably not going to survive this. This is a point where I have failed in the past as well. Boom. Wall down. Base dead. Mission failed. Good luck. That was the breaching of the outpost. And once you have your outpost breached, you can still load a save. So you can still go back and potentially make some different choices, see if you can do better. If you don't, well, that is that for that outpost. And you can just start over and try again. So that's Final Outpost. Once you look past the graphics, I quite like it. I quite like it. And I spent a lot more time on this than I initially thought I would. So recommend that you check it out, have a look. And if you like it, well, give it a go. And good luck surviving. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon for more.